Every Christmas at my family's house in Denver felt like stepping into a script I hadn't written. The dining room gleamed with Mom's holiday obsession, gold-rimmed plates, a centerpiece of pine cones and holly, candles flickering like they were auditioning for a Hallmark movie. Dad played the jovial host, pouring bourbon and retelling stories of his college football days, while my older sister Lauren soaked up the glow of being the family's pride. I was Lena, the one who brought the dessert, set out the extra chairs, and smiled through the inevitable question. So, Lena, still at that bookstore job? This year, though, when Dad raised his glass and tossed out his usual jab, when are you gonna step up like Lauren? I didn't nod along. I looked him in the eye and said, I already have. You just never asked. The silence that followed was louder than the Christmas carols still humming from the speakers. Growing up, I learned to be the quiet one. Lauren was the supernova, valedictorian law school graduate, now a rising star at a downtown firm with a corner office and a fiancé who looked like he stepped out of a catalog. Mom called her our trailblazer. Dad said she was going places. They weren't wrong. Lauren had a knack for making everything look effortless. Her tailored blazers, her witty dinner banter, her Instagram posts of ski trips and charity galas. I didn't envy her, not really. I just wanted someone to notice that I was building something too, even if it didn't come with a press release. I managed a small bookstore in Boulder, taught writing workshops on weekends, and had quietly started a literary magazine that was gaining traction. But at family gatherings, my life was reduced to a shrug. Lena's still figuring it out. I'd been the one who showed up always. When Mom needed help with her charity auction, I organized the spreadsheets. When Dad's car broke down last winter, I covered the repair bill. When Lauren's engagement party needed a last-minute venue, I called in favors. I didn't do it for praise. I did it because that's what family does, right? But every Christmas, every birthday, I'd sit at the edge of the table, listening to Lauren's latest promotion or her plans for a Vail condo, while my contributions were met with polite nods or not mentioned at all. I used to tell myself it didn't matter. I'd smile, pass the mashed potatoes, and let the conversation slide back to Lauren. But this year something had changed. I wasn't there to blend in anymore. I was done being the backdrop to someone else's story. The shift didn't happen all at once. Started 2 years ago when I skipped Christmas for the first time. I told them I had a work event, but really I just couldn't face another night of being the other sister. I spent the holiday in my apartment eating ramen and editing submissions for the magazine, snow falling quietly outside my window. It was lonely, but it was mine. That solitude gave me space to grow. My magazine landed its first paid subscriber, then 10, then 100. I bought a small cottage in Boulder, cash, no fanfare. I didn't tell anyone, not because I was hiding, but because it felt like a promise to myself. Every milestone, every late night writing, every client I signed for my workshops, was a brick in a foundation they didn't know existed. And the more I built, the less I needed their approval. This Christmas, I almost said no again. But something pulled me back. Not obligation, not guilt, but a quiet certainty that I needed to walk into that room as the woman I'd become, not the one they expected. So I drove to Denver, a bottle of Merlot and a homemade pecan tart in tow, wearing a green sweater that felt like armor. The house smelled of rosemary and cinnamon, and the table was set like always, polished, perfect, predictable. Lauren sat next to her fiancé Mark, her diamond ring catching the candlelight. Mom fussed over the gravy. Dad cracked jokes. I took my seat at the far end next to my cousin Jess, who gave me a quick hug and whispered, "You okay?" I nodded, but my eyes were on the room, watching the familiar script unfold. It came right after dessert as the pecan tart was passed around. Dad leaned back, glass raised, his voice carrying that familiar mix of pride and performance. "Lauren's got some news," he said, grinning. "Just closed on a condo in Vail. Prime spot, killer views. Our girl's killing it." The table erupted in oohs and ahs. Lauren smiled, modest but pleased, as Mark squeezed her hand. Then Dad turned to me, his grin sharpening. "So, Lena, when are you gonna step up like Lauren?" The room chuckled, expecting my usual shrug. But I didn't shrug. I set down my fork, looked at him, and said, "I already have. You just never asked." The air shifted. Lauren's smile froze. Mom's hand paused over the coffee pot. Dad's grin faltered, like he wasn't sure if I was joking. "What's that supposed to mean?" he asked, half laughing. I sipped my wine, letting the moment stretch. I mean, I bought a house last year. Paid in full. And my magazine's got over 1,000 subscribers now. I'm not stepping up, Dad. I'm already there. The silence was electric, every eye on me. Jess's mouth dropped open slightly. Mark raised an eyebrow. Lauren's lips parted, but no words came. Dad blinked. A house? He said like the word didn't compute. Why didn't you tell us? I smiled, calm but unyielding. You didn't ask. You were too busy measuring me against someone else's life. Mom's face flushed. Dad shifted in his seat. Lauren tried to recover, her voice bright but brittle. That's amazing, Lena. You should have said something. I turned to her. Why? So I could compete in a game I didn't sign up for. The room went still again, the carols in the background sounding suddenly too loud. I didn't explain further. I didn't need to. For the first time, I let them sit with the weight of their own assumptions. As I drove home that night, my phone buzzed. Text from Jess. A voicemail from an old family friend, Nate, who'd been at the table. Lena, that was something else. His message said. Call me. You won't believe what happened after you left. I didn't listen to the rest, not yet. What had they said? Was Lauren spinning it to save face? Did Dad double down, or did Mom finally see me? The questions swirled, but I didn't chase them. I'd said my piece. Now I wanted to know what broke in that room after I walked away. The story's getting more and more interesting, isn't it? Don't miss out on what happens next. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Let's see what other challenges await our hero. The drive back to Boulder felt different, like the air itself had shifted. My hands were steady on the wheel, the pecan tart's empty tin rattling in the passenger seat. The Denver skyline faded in my rearview, and with it the weight of that Christmas dinner. My phone kept buzzing. Texts from Jess, another from Nate, even one from Mom, but I let them pile up unanswered. For years I'd leapt to respond, to smooth things over, to keep the family's script intact. Not tonight. Tonight I let the silence speak for me. When I got home, my cat Sage greeted me with a lazy yawn, and I poured a glass of the Merlot I'd brought to dinner. Nate's voicemail blinked on my screen, his voice crackling with intrigue. Lena, you won't believe what happened after you left. I didn't play the rest, not yet. What had broken in that room? Did Lauren try to laugh it off? Did Dad double down? The questions tugged at me, but I wasn't ready for answers. I'd said what I needed to say. Now I wanted to see what they'd do with it. The next morning I woke to a flood of notifications. The family group chat, usually dormant except for holiday plans or Dad's golf updates, was alive. Jess, Lena, that was badass. I'm so sorry I didn't speak up sooner. Mom, Lena, please call me. We didn't mean to make you feel that way. Dad, let's talk this out. No need for drama. Lauren's name was conspicuously absent. I scrolled past the messages, landing on one from Nate. Hey, I'm in Boulder tomorrow for a gig. Can we grab coffee? I've got details on the fallout. My thumb hovered. Nate was a family friend, always at the edges of our gatherings, a musician who'd known Lauren since law school. Why was he so invested? What did he see that I hadn't? I typed back, 1 p.m. the cup. See you there. I spent the day at the bookstore restocking shelves and prepping for a poetry reading. My co-workers noticed my quiet focus, one even joking, "You look like you just won a war." I smiled but didn't explain. By noon I was at the Cup, a cozy cafe with mismatched mugs and the smell of burnt espresso. Nate was already there, his guitar case propped against a chair, his eyes lighting up when I walked in. Lena, he said, standing to hug me, you dropped a bomb last night. I sat down, stirring my latte. Didn't feel like a bomb. Just the truth. He grinned. Exactly. That's why it hit so hard. He leaned forward, voice low. After you left, Lauren tried to play it cool, said you were just stressed. But Jess wasn't having it. She called out the whole step up comment, said it was unfair. Your mom got quiet, like she was replaying every holiday in her head. Your dad, he just stared at his plate like he'd been caught stealing. Mark tried to change the subject, but it was too late. The room was different. I sipped my coffee, letting his words sink in. And Lauren? I asked. Nate's smile faded. She's rattled. Kept saying you misunderstood the vibe, but her eyes? She knew she'd been called out. Nobody bought her spin. I nodded, the knot in my chest loosening. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Nate shrugged, his fingers tapping his mug. Because I've seen it for years. You show up, you give, and they take without looking. Last night you made them look. His words hit like a tuning fork, resonating with something I'd always felt but never named. I've been there, he added softly. The one who's always fine until you're not. I walked away from my family's expectations a long time ago. It's lonely, but it's free. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded, my mind spinning. What else had Nate seen? Was he just a witness, or was there more to his interest? That evening, I checked the group chat again. Mom had sent another message. Lena, I'm so sorry if we made you feel less than. Can we talk? Dad followed. I didn't mean it the way it came out. Let's fix this. Still nothing from Lauren. Then a private text from Jess. Lauren's telling people you're jealous, but Mom and Dad aren't buying it. Call me if you need to vent. I didn't call, but Jess's words confirmed what I'd suspected. Lauren was scrambling to rewrite the narrative. What was she saying behind closed doors? Would she confront me or keep pretending I was the problem? I opened my banking app, staring at the joint account I'd kept with my parents for years. It held $1,800. Money I'd put in for their emergencies, like Lauren's wedding deposit or Dad's golf trip when his card got declined. I'd always refilled it, no questions asked. Now I transferred every dollar to my savings and closed the account. The confirmation email felt like shedding a skin. An hour later, my phone rang. Lauren. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was sharp, controlled. Lena, closing the account? Really? That was our safety net. You can't just do that without talking to us. Call me back. I deleted it. She didn't get to dictate the terms anymore. The next day, I drafted an email to the family group, BCCing Nate and Jess. Subject, Christmas. Hi all, since there's confusion, let's be clear. I paid for Mom's auction last year, $500, Dad's car repair, $1,200, and Lauren's engagement venue deposit, $800. I bought a house, built a business, and run a magazine with over 1,000 subscribers. All without a loan or a single post for applause. Last night I was asked to step up, while sitting at a table that never made room for me. I've closed the joint account. I'm done funding a family that only sees me when they need something. I'm here if you want to talk, but not to play a role I didn't choose. Lena. I hit send, my pulse steady but fast. Replies came quickly. Jess, you're my hero. Mom, Lena, I had no idea. Please, let's hope. Dad, I messed up. Can I come to Boulder? Lauren predictably stayed silent. Then a text from Nate. That email's making waves. Lauren's not happy, but your parents, they're listening. Want to know more? I stared at the message, my mind racing. What was Lauren planning? Was she rallying the family against me, or was she starting to see the truth? And Nate, why was he still in this, still watching? I didn't reply, but the questions burned. Something was shifting and I wasn't sure where it would land. The days after my email felt like the quiet after a storm. Still but charged, like the air was waiting for something to break. My phone stayed mostly silent, the family group chat reduced to a flicker of life. No holiday plans, no casual check-ins, just a void where their voices used to be. I didn't fill it. I went to work, restocked books, led my writing workshop, and came home to Sage purring on my couch. My cottage in Boulder, with its sage-green walls and bookshelves I'd built myself, felt like a world I'd carved out, free from the weight of their expectations. But Lauren's silence lingered like a shadow. I knew her too well, she didn't let challenges slide. Was she plotting a comeback, or had my words finally cracked her perfect facade? And Nate, his texts, his quiet insistence on staying connected, kept me wondering. What did he want from this? A week later, Jess called, her voice urgent. Lena, Lauren's been talking. She's telling Mom and Dad you're punishing the family, that closing the account was vindictive. But they're not buying it, not fully. Dad's been asking me about your magazine, your house. I think he's rattled. I leaned against my kitchen counter, the pecan tart tin still sitting there, a relic from Christmas. What about Mom? I asked. Yeast sight. She's quiet, but she keeps looking at old photos of you like she's trying to piece something together. I told her about your workshops. She didn't know. I nodded, though Jess couldn't see me. And Lauren? I pressed. She's doubling down, but it's not landing. People are starting to see through her. That evening, Nate texted again. In town again. Can we meet? Got something you'll want to hear. I hesitated. His persistence was starting to feel like more than just friendly support. But curiosity won out. I replied, tomorrow same place 2 p.m. At the Cup, Nate was waiting with his guitar case and a half-finished coffee. You're making waves, he said, grinning as I sat down. Lauren's spinning it, but your email, it's like you held up a mirror. I stirred my cappuccino. What's she saying? He leaned in. She's telling everyone you're jealous, that you're trying to steal her spotlight. But your dad's not biting. He asked me about your magazine yesterday out of nowhere. Said he didn't realize you were that serious about it. I laughed, sharp and short. Of course he didn't. Nate's eyes softened. I get why you didn't tell them. It's yours, not theirs. I did the same when I left my dad's firm to play music. They don't see you until you force them to. His words hit close, too close. Why do you keep showing up for this? I asked blunt. He paused, then said, because I see you, Lena. Always have. And I think you're just getting started. His gaze held mine a beat too long and I looked away, my cheeks warm. Was he just an ally or was there something else here? I didn't ask. Not yet. 2 weeks later, Lauren showed up at my bookstore unannounced. She stood by the poetry section, her coat too polished for the creaky wood floors. Lena, she said, her voice tight but calm, we need to talk. I didn't stop shelving books. So talk. She crossed her arms. You didn't have to humiliate me in front of everyone. Closing the account. That email. It was cruel. I set a book down, meeting her eyes. Cruel was being asked to step up when I've been running my own race for years. Cruel was watching you soak up praise while I was invisible. I'm not your shadow, Lauren. Her jaw tightened. I never asked to be the favorite. You could have spoken up sooner. I stepped closer. I did. You just didn't listen. None of you did. She looked away, her composure cracking. I didn't know about your magazine, your house. You hid it. I shook my head. I didn't hide it. I built it for me, not for your approval. She didn't respond, but her eyes glistened, and for the first time I saw something like guilt. I'm not the villain, she said softly. I know, I replied. But you never stepped off the pedestal to see who else was in the room. She left without another word, and I went back to shelving, my hands steady but my heart racing. Had I finally gotten through, or was she just regrouping? A few days later, Dad called. I answered, bracing myself. Lena, he said, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. I'm coming to Boulder. Just you and me, coffee. No agenda. We met at a diner near my house, him in his old Broncos cap, me in jeans. He looked smaller, somehow less certain. I didn't see you, he said after a long sip of coffee. I got caught up in Lauren's wins, thought that's what success looked like. I was wrong. I nodded, not trusting my voice. I'm proud of you, he added, almost a whisper. I just wish I'd said it sooner. I didn't cry, but I felt a knot loosen, one I'd carried for years. Thanks, I said. Let's start there. Mom sent a letter a week later, handwritten, no return address. Lena, I failed you. I saw what was easy to see, not what was true. I'm learning. If you're ever ready, I'm here. I folded it carefully, placing it beside a stack of my magazine's latest issue. I didn't reply, but I didn't close the door either. Therapy helped me name what I'd felt. Conditional love, the kind that only sees you when you fit the script. I started saying no to things that didn't serve me, like family events with hidden scorecards. I took a trip to Santa Fe, wandered art galleries, and wrote in a journal under desert stars, listing what I deserved. Respect without performance, love without comparison, a life I didn't have to justify. One night, I found a photo from Christmas on Jess's Instagram. The table sparkled, all laughter and light, but in the corner, barely visible, was me, quiet, watching the pecan tart at my feet. It didn't hurt. It was proof of who I'd been and who I wasn't anymore. I hosted a reading at the bookstore, Nate playing acoustic in the background, Jess and my workshop students filling the room. No one was sidelined, no one had to prove their place. Later, Nate lingered, his guitar packed up. You're building something real, he said. Mind if I stick around to see it? I smiled, not answering but not saying no. I opened my laptop and typed, rules for my table. Rule 1. No one who overlooks you gets a seat. Rule 2. Love that demands a script isn't love. Rule 3. You don't need their spotlight when you're your own light. I closed the laptop, Sage curling up beside me. The victory wasn't the Christmas dinner or the email. It was every choice after. Every no, every boundary, Every step into a life I'd built without their applause. I wasn't waiting for their table anymore. I'd built my own and it was full. Hey everyone. Thanks for tuning into the Revenge Tempest channel. If you love this story, please hit that subscribe button and join our amazing community. Drop a comment below letting us know where you watched us from. Your support keeps us going. Stay tuned for more epic tales.